Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Vanilla Minecraft, and we're going to start out today up here on our little cheaty platform. Now, I want to try and be pretty productive today to make up for the lack of productivity last time, and the main focus that I want to have is on this mob farm right here, or rather, my mob farm situation in general. So, this mob farm is very, very old and was meant to be very, very temporary. I built it back when I first came over to my islands because I needed a bunch of TNT, and I always wanted to replace it, but as is usually the case when I say that something is temporary, I haven't gotten around to putting anything better in. So, I think we're going to take care of that today, because this mob farm has long outlived its welcome. It's a very old design. In fact, it was my very first thing that I ever designed in Minecraft. Not this exact build, but a version of it on a different server. Why am I still in Elytra form? There we go. So, back in the day, and I'm talking way back when mob farms were based on the canal design. Make sure we're not going to get blown up walking in here. Hey now. Ooh, server lag. Hello there. But way back in the day, back when the canal-style mob farms were kind of the standard, where we'd have 4 big platforms and the mobs would just kind of casually walk off over time, and back before we could collect items automatically, I came up with this idea of making it so if mobs moved at all after they spawned, they would go straight down into the water streams. Now, in retrospect, this was very, very poorly executed, but it was also the very first thing I ever invented in Minecraft. So, out of pure nostalgia, when I first came and wanted a mob farm, and I wanted to do something relatively easy and cheap, I put this in place. And I've been living with it ever since. Now, to give you an idea of how long this mob farm has actually been here, it was built before witches were a thing. Because if a witch spawns on the lowest level, she's going to survive the fall. As you've already seen once, I do believe. And that's not exactly great. It also means that this farm, this temporary mob farm, has been here for probably 4 or 5 years. And at least, actually. That's how long witches have been in the game, but I don't actually remember how long this was in before witches started spawning. So, it's long overdue that we replace it with something a bit better. Now, this is going to be a bit intensive. The design I'm going to go with, or rather the aesthetics that I'm putting around the design I'm going to go with, are a little bit difficult to work with. So, this is going to be quite the task, but we'll try and get as far as we can today. Maybe we'll finish it, maybe we won't. Worst case, we have to touch up some stuff next episode, but we'll see how far we can get. So, first thing is first, I'm going to need to tear down this design and kind of clean this area up a bit. I want to expand this main circular platform and try and move these chests. It's going to be a bit of a nightmare because I have a lot of stuff here. And I have to do it in the rain, apparently. So, I'm going to get to that, and I'll be back with you guys once that's taken care of, and we can start work on our mob tower. Yeesh. You guys have no idea how weird it is to not see a mob tower up there after all of those years. It is really feeling strange to me right now. I'm sure I'll get used to it, but man. So, obviously, I have cleaned up this central area a bit. It's clearly not in its final form. I just kind of have a temporary portal here for the moment. And I honestly don't know what we're going to do with this space either. We could just leave it open. We could build one nice-looking central portal in the middle. We could just push the portal back to this area here and then have something else in the middle. Maybe something that'll tie into our mob tower design. And I actually have a couple ideas for that as well. But we'll see how things turn out. So, as for the mob's farm itself, I have laid out a little bit to help us get started. Not a whole lot with the mob farm itself, actually. Just kind of a line leading out to where it's going to be. Basically, at the end of this is where our collection floor is going to be. It's where the mobs are going to drop down and we're going to pick up their drops. And above that is going to be the mob tower itself, obviously. And then along this line, we're going to have a row of hoppers, which are going to bring it into a storage system, which is kind of what this dirt here is outlining the corner of. Though, I'm actually not sure about the shape that I'm going to use for the storage system itself. I'm still kind of on the fence about that. It might be kind of like a donut shape, or it'll be maybe a diamond? I'm not entirely set on it yet, but we'll worry about that when the time comes. For right now, we have a mob tower to build. So, I have a lot of materials to gather because this is a very costly project. And I'm going to go sort that out, and then I'll start building the tower, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so here is what our mob farm is looking like so far, and I think it's okay. Some pieces might be changing in the future. For example, this floating ring that I have that's holding up these 4 crystals, I think it looks okay, especially if you're, flying above or flying at the same height as them. I think in that regard it looks okay. Like from up here, I like that. I like how that looks. But from the angle that we actually look at it from, it looks a little bit messy to me. So I might end up changing that. I might end up doing something a little bit different. Maybe I could embed the crystals in the wall of the farm itself or something. I don't know. I might keep it like this. We'll see how it goes. But there's also a few other things. The beam going up the middle, I think that turns out okay, but it needs to feel a little bit more solid yet. I think adding a little bit more white glass in the center to have more of a solid beam might help it out a bit. And this little line here, our output line that would transport the drops out of the farm, that needs to be blended in a little bit more as well. Currently it just kind of plunks into the side of our little kill platform there, and that's okay. It doesn't look terrible or anything, but I think if it kind of arced in and felt like it was one big piece, it would probably look a lot better. So there are a couple other more technical issues with the farm as well. Obviously, there's no mobs coming from it right now. That's because I don't have the farm activated. In fact, I haven't actually put the redstone up on top yet. Mostly because I don't think I want the redstone clock to be on top of the tower itself. And my reasoning for that should become obvious in a little bit. But that's something we still need to do. The mob floor might have a bit of a technical issue that we need to work out, and that's that certain mobs will not die from falling onto it. Most notably zombies and skeletons that have feather falling boots. And we can't really do a whole lot to prevent that. When I was first designing the farm, my plan was to have magma blocks with cyan carpet on top, but unfortunately the carpet, because it has a collision box, kind of lifts the items up just enough to not get picked up by the hopper minecarts that are running back and forth below. So we couldn't really do that either. It would make it so we couldn't pick up the drops and kind of devalue the entire purpose of the farm. So that wasn't really an option. We could use snow layers instead of carpet, and those don't have that collision box, at least at 1 layer thick. But then everything would be white and it would look kind of bland, and I didn't really like it. The other option, if we have a problem with it, is to put some iron golems in here. And that's something I didn't really want to do, but I don't think it would be terrible either. Like, we could just say that they were the robotic engineers of this crazy contraption here, and they would walk around and kill any mobs that survived for us, and it would be a simple solution. So I'm probably going to leave it like this for now, and if we notice that a bunch of feather falling mobs are spawning in, and they're not despawning relatively quickly, then we'll pop an iron golem or 2 in, and that'll take care of the problem. Obviously, we have another issue though, and that's that, well, we still are missing a storage system. And that part, I still don't really know what I'm doing with. I know that there's going to be a lot of storage, but I don't know what I want the room around it to look like quite yet. So that is another problem that we need to figure out yet today, hopefully. But there's one other thing that I want to address first. After all of these other problems I've listed off, there's one kind of significant one that's going to cause me to waste a lot of time and, honestly, a lot of resources. And that's that, well, we built our mob farm out in this corner here, and it looks kind of strange. Not terribly, it would be fine to leave it this way, but it would look a whole lot more balanced out if we built another one over here. So, I'm going to build an entire second mob tower. And it's not going to double the rates of our farm or anything like that. If we manage the timings properly, it should increase the rates a little bit, but it's not going to be like a massive, massive increase like you would assume, unfortunately, because it is going to be kind of expensive. That being said, 2 of them would look cool, and it would feel okay up here, but it would be really, really cool if we had 4 of them, 1 in each corner back here as well. Now, make no mistake, this is not going to be a super-duper efficient farm because we do that. In fact, adding these 2 back here, after we have the 2 up front, is probably not going to do a whole lot for our rates at all. In fact, I may even disable them most of the time just to reduce the lag from the water updates that this farm is going to cause. But I think it would look really, really cool if we do that. So whether or not I manage to actually build all of them today, or if I even... can't get up there. If I even decide to do that, I might wimp out and try and do something a little less resource intensive, because these do take thousands of blocks, and a lot of it's like quartz, which is crazy expensive, and all the concrete gathering, and I had to make all the concrete and harden it. Oh, it took forever. So doing this 3 more times, gonna be a little bit intense, but I kind of think I'm gonna do it. So, well, let's just get started. Okay, our 4 towers are in place, and I think they're looking pretty cool. Definitely a lot better than the cobblestone box we had before, at the very least. So, I consider that quite the improvement. Now, that being said, we are far, far from finished. Between the planning, the resource gathering, and, of course, the building of these things, it's taken a long time. In addition to that, this past week has been a little bit of a killer, and I'm already way behind on releasing this video. So, we can't really drag this out any longer. We're going to have to finish it up next episode, and while I did want to complete it this time, I think we still made some pretty solid progress. Now, I do still want to do a little bit today, but first I want to talk to you guys about some of the things that we need to do next episode in order to get this 100% completed. Now, the main issue that we're going to have, and there's a couple I suppose, but the first one, the most noticeable one, is that we have no way of powering our farm. There's currently no redstone set up, and the redstone for this farm is very simple. It's basically just a simple clock, but I want to do something specific with it, because I don't want to just have a clock on top of each tower. That would be a little bit extra lag that we don't need and a little bit kind of senseless, right? We don't need 4 clocks to power this farm. We only need 1. So I want to have that single clock, but I don't know how I want to do it yet. We could have it up in the center above our middle platform here, hidden inside something like a gem or an orb, kind of like these little things, just much bigger and more detailed, and then have beams going out to the tops of the towers and hide the redstone inside of that. Like, that would work, but then the beam would need to have solid blocks in it in order to transmit the redstone. It would be a little bit bulky, and I don't know. It might be a little bit over the top with the whole beam look. So I'm a little undecided about that. We could go with something a little bit more structured, just like a little, I don't know, some structure of some kind up in the middle, and then connect the pillars together, just like with slabs or something, like the big cross shape in the middle, rotated around some building. I don't know. Like, that would be easy. That would look okay, I think. I don't really know if it would look better to have these completely separate or connected together or not, but that's an idea. I could also just build one giant ring that crosses the tops of all 4 pillars and set the redstone out from that. That would work. I would just have to have the clock on top of one specific pillar. Or the other option, which I think might be actually really cool, but I don't know what it would look like yet, would be if I built some little structure up in the top in between the towers, just something really small, and use that as a medium that would allow me to send the signal between the 2 towers with tripwires. I think that would be the most minimalist approach, but at the same time, I don't know what that structure would look like. So maybe I'll experiment with that a little bit too. But point is, I need to figure out how to power all of these farms together. So that's one thing I need to do. I also need to tweak the aesthetics a little bit. Like I said before, I'm still a bit unsure about the ring situation. I think it looks cool, especially at nighttime. I don't know if we'll get to see that or not, but at night it lights up the sides of the pillars, which I think is really neat. But maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll leave it like this. I also need to put carpets on top of all of these ledges. I did actually go up there and put string because I couldn't for the life of me remember if string actually prevented mob spawns or not. But it totally doesn't. I actually remember now that what string basically does is prevents mobs from like initially spawning there. But if a mob tries to spawn somewhere else due to the air blocks around it, they can totally end up at that block. So that's not cool either. That's not going to do it. I think that white and gray carpet will be fine. I don't think we'll even notice them. And I'll have to do that down here as this as well. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, this needs to be tied in. And that brings me down to this area. Of course, the storage room needs to be done as well. And I don't know the aesthetic for that yet either. So behind. So much work to do. But it shouldn't be too bad. Realistically, it doesn't even matter if that's not super attractive looking because it's always obscured by our platform itself. But we'll see what we do with that. Unfortunately, all of that needs to be done in the next episode. But I still want to try and get things at least a little bit functional today. Because I can't just go an entire episode working on mob farms without something. Without, you know, making mob farms at least somewhat functional and having some mob farming going on. I'd feel a little bit bad if I just was like, hey, we're doing a mob farm, and then no mobs died. So what I'm going to do is put a temporary redstone clock on top of this tower, which will set up our redstone system. It'll make all the water go in and out and take care of that for us. And I'll probably add just a couple chests down here for the items to flow into. I probably won't even add an item filter to it for the time being. And yeah, we'll call it there. We'll see, make sure that the farm runs good and everything, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so here is the simple little redstone contraption that's going to power our mob farm. At least temporarily. We'll have a better setup next episode, hopefully. But the basic idea is that we have a hopper timer, which will periodically power this comparator timer here, and that's going to turn on, send one tick to this observer, which is going to make all the water flow out. The comparators will do their thing, the redstone will turn off, and the water will get retracted in another pulse from this observer. Pretty simple stuff. I will give you guys a better explanation once the farm is completely done in the next episode. But for right now, let's flick this lever, go down below, and see how things turn out. Let's go like so. And hopefully nothing goes wrong. That skeleton seems to have walked off on his own. Is the water coming? Let's see. There it goes. And there go all the mobs. Wow, there was a lot of them in there. And wow, the server is not liking that. Oh boy. Server's been struggling a little bit lately. Gotta upgrade it. But that is how the mob farm is going to work. And then I popped a single chest down here, which is not going to last very long. But we just want to test to make sure the farm is working. So that should be sufficient. It's, I don't know how long the wait is. I can't remember. I think it might be like 40 seconds? Maybe? I can't remember exactly how long the wait between waves of mobs is. But I'd like to see another one. Though, again, with several people on... Yep, that one's much lighter, because the mobs didn't have time to build up. But you get the idea. It seems to be working, and there are the drops from those mobs coming in. So, that is awesome. Now, all we need to do is set that up on all of our mob towers, and fix this storage system, and then just little odds and ends things. Maybe make the bottoms of these mob farms look a little bit better, even though we'll probably never see them. And that'll be our mob farm done. So, hopefully we get all of that sorted out next episode. As always, if you have suggestions or anything like that about any of the stuff we've covered here today, be sure to tell me. And, yeah, thanks you guys for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.